Folks, you know what's galling about all this? What's particularly galling about this is the silence. Remember all those jackasses who put up their little ribbons and said, raise money for Ukraine. If you're not with Ukraine, then you're a communist and you're an America hater, and all the nonsense and lies as we poured over $200 billion into the grifter's pocket to fuel the war that's led to the deaths of thousands of Ukrainians and Russians, civilians in particular, destroyed that region of Europe. Remember those? I was in France for the Rugby World Cup, and in some cities they still had their big flags up. We're pro-Ukraine. Where were they at for pro-Bosnia? Where were they at for pro-Georgia? Where were they at for pro-Estonia when it came under attack? Cyber attacks. But anyway, back to the point. This is just staged nonsense. Kamala Harris now finding her way down to the Carolinas for a staged photo op a week after the storm. Now look, there's some merit to not having leaders in the way, not getting down there because they don't need to be there. There's merit to that, but not a week later. Not an absolute week later. And here's the irony, and here's what makes this so annoying, is how they castigated and attacked George Walker Bush. Not a big fan, but did vote for him, in interest of full disclosure. George Walker Bush over Katrina. And they lie about it. I was in the Pentagon in the build-up to Katrina, working in the basement of the Pentagon, and watched as we mobilized resources, National Guard, Reserve Forces, and active duty, primarily Guard and Reserve initially. Haley Barbour was a governor in Mississippi. Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas were all affected by Katrina, and Mississippi was hit hard, devastatingly hit hard along the coast. But people evacuated when they were told to evacuate. The state was prepared for the event. The federal government was prepared for the event. We had over 300 helicopters, 350 if I recall correctly, pre-positioned, thousands of trucks, water decontamination units, water buffaloes, resources all over the place. Then the Department of Defense, in the aftermath of that hurricane, saved 18,500 people by airlift alone. By airlift alone, with the hundreds of helicopters we had down there from the reserve component in active duty, we flew out over 18,900 people, almost all in Louisiana, of course, in New Orleans. That's just flying. That doesn't even account for the people rescued on the ground by soldiers. And we had to hear that George Bush hates black people. This is disgusting and vile. So what does this mean? The Biden-Harris regime hates white people because they're the ones mostly affected by this in the southeast United States? And here we are a week later.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like.
Offering $750 emergency payment from FEMA to the millions of people affected by this, while people are still missing. At least 191 fatalities so far. Complete towns destroyed, washed off the map in biblical fashion. And this is what this clown does. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're dumb enough to vote for Kamala Harris, then you deserve the end of this republic. And you will have brought it to its knees, because we're approaching that point. Look, this isn't a pro-Trump statement, but this is the fact. These people have destroyed world peace. They've destroyed American prosperity. They've doubled and tripled the prices of our goods because their ineptitude, their corrupt macroeconomic policies, their focus on equity and not performance. These people are dangerous, and they've always been dangerous. And when I say these people, it's not a race, it's not a gender, it's a political ideology and philosophy that is anathema to human well-being. Socialism, communism, and increasingly what's left of what was once the Democratic Party. If you vote for them, shame on you. Iran declaring war and attacking Israel, committing crimes against humanity, firing ballistic missiles into civilian areas, targeting civilians intentionally. This is a violation of international norms after World War II. And these are crimes against humanity. South Africa, where are you on taking Iran to the International Court of Justice for its crimes against humanity? That isn't going to happen. Not going to happen. Iran. Hurricane Helene. And now, the U.S. economy being crippled by a longshoreman strike here on the East Coast of the United States, demanding a 77% pay rise. 77%. They've been offered 50% and they've rejected it. And the Biden-Harris regime's Department of Labor and the negotiators nowhere to be found, silent as this unfolds. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. This is what you get. 3 major events undermining global peace and security and domestic tranquility and safety here. And Americans in need, in genuine need. No telethons, no fundraisers, no appeals to the public. We don't see Harris or Biden or anybody in the regime going on television and asking to help these people. And they ignore them for a week. They ignored American voters in North Carolina and South Carolina for a week, and Florida and Georgia.
Homes, hospitals, highways, and cars have been plunged underwater. Entire neighborhoods have been turned into lakes. Nobody's seen anything like it. And to every family that's been displaced here in Georgia and North Carolina, which has really been hit. We were going there also, and they don't have communication. They don't have anything right now. We're trying to. I just spoke to Elon. I'm getting him. We want to get Starlink hooked up because they have no communication whatsoever. And Elon will always come through. We know that. And throughout the region, our hearts are with you, and we are going to be with you as long as you need. It's called an hour of need. You're in our prayers, and we pray to God. And throughout this the long weeks that lay ahead, you're going to have a lot of work, but the end result is it's going to be good. We just wish so many people weren't so badly hurt, and in many cases, sadly, no longer with us.
And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750.
And you think that Kamala Harris could win this race? Well, if she does, it's all over for America.
On the hurricane, Mr. President, why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday.
Thanks a lot, folks. Be sure to leave a comment behind. Cheers.